Hi class, this is sort of part 2 of writing essay number 1. We went through the instructions of how to write an introduction already in a previous video. So hopefully you checked that out. And now I'm going to talk you through essay number 1 in total and just give you some pointers on some things that maybe are common mistakes that people run into. So let's open up the instructions for essay number 1. And if you remember, you should get a feedback from your introduction so that I can make sure you're on the right path for your essay. But if you remember, you are writing an essay about a character, and you're trying to provide proof if your character learned his or her lesson or not. Okay, so you've by now hopefully written your introduction, and hopefully you've either gotten or will soon get feedback. And then now you're thinking about, okay, do I have to revise my introduction at all? And then how am I going to write my body paragraphs, and how am I going to write my conclusion? Okay, a few things to remember. Some of these guidelines that I want you to go through is you have to have 3 body paragraphs for this essay. Okay, each body paragraph must develop and support one focus point. In this case, I'm dictating to you what the focus of each point is, each paragraph is. As the assignments go on, the essays go on, I loosen the requirements each time, and you'll see as we go. Okay, stay focused on what you're trying to prove here. Don't retell the story. This is a real issue. This can be an issue with this essay because it's sort of logical. You have a beginning, middle, and end a lot of times in your 3 body paragraphs, but don't just retell the story with analysis mixed in. What you want to be doing is using your essay to prove your point, using your quotes to prove your point, using analysis following each quote to show why that quote is proving your point. Okay, so the other thing is, remember to include 2 quotes as evidence in each body paragraph. You have to have 2 quotes. You have to have 750 words. Make sure you're revising, editing, and proofreading your final draft. It has to demonstrate college level writing, or I'm going to return it to you. Okay, few other things. You need to have in-text citations, and ideally, you're going to have a works cited page. Okay? You can look at the modules on those to have a better understanding. Hopefully, the example that I pull up is going to have that pretty clearly for you. You won't lose points without a works cited on this assignment, but starting with essay 2, you will. So it's good to practice now so that I can give you feedback on your essay. On your works cited, so that you won't lose points for next time. Okay, so what are we going to be doing for our body paragraphs? Well, we're going to make the first one, remember, is going to be about our character at the beginning of the story in relation to our lesson. The second one's going to be focusing on the opportunity for him or her to learn a lesson, and the third one is going to be focusing on if he or she learned the lesson, and why or why not. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at an example. And I have a brave student who let me use his or her paper as an example. Okay. So remember, there might be small errors in this, but really it's not to be concerned about because the content structure and mechanics of this essay were superb. Okay. So let's take a look. Does money really buy happiness? If so, how much money does one need? In the story The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant, the author writes about whether money equates to happiness or pain or suffering. The story follows Madame Loisel, a woman who lives a comfortable life yet is not satisfied with what she has. When Loisel loses a borrowed necklace, a painful lesson is learned on the price of happiness. Refusing the advice of her husband, Loisel borrows jewels from her dear friend, Mrs. Forestier. Loisel discovers the true price of material things and how it equates to happiness when she must repay Lady Forestier for the necklace that she loses after the party. Okay, So in my mind, I think this is a fantastic introduction because I know what the essay is going to be focusing on. Okay, there's a solid hook here about money buying happiness. Okay, there's the author and the title, Necklace, Guy de Maupassant. Okay, talks about a little background on the story. Okay, that she borrows a necklace and learns a lesson. Okay, talks about the different body paragraphs. You know that she's not going to be satisfied with what she has a chance to learn the true price of material things when she has to repay the necklace for the necklace. Okay, so in my mind, this is really good. If a student had sent me this as an introduction, I would probably want to clarify what they're supposed to be. But overall, even though this might not be exactly in the order, this is a good overview. Okay, I know what's going to be proven here. Okay, so here we go. Body paragraphs. Remember, and I'm not going to read through all of these. I'm going to read through the first one and highlight some things, and then we'll sort of look at the conclusion. And okay, so remember, a body paragraph should be written just like an assertion paragraph. You want to have your topic sentence to start. You want context on the quote, a lead-in. You want your quote. Okay, I'm just scanning through this. I'm looking. What's really good is the page numbers in parentheses. The period comes after the end parentheses. There's no P period in there. Okay, and if you want to put the author's name in here, that's fine too. Remember, you'd put, for this story, the author's last name is actually de Maupassant, little d-e, capital M-A-U-P-A-S-S-A-N-T. Okay, and then you'd put a space and then the page number. Because there's only one story being talked about in the essay, you don't have to do that. Okay, then the big thing after each quote is you're going to want an analysis. That's drawing a line from how the quote proves your point. Okay, and then you repeat because you want to have at least 2 quotes. Okay, so let's take a look at the first sentence. Lady Loisel was the type of person that always looked beyond what she had and only focused on what she wanted to have. Okay, so this is trying to explain from the get-go that she never was happy with what she had. Author de Maupassant reveals, okay, there's the lead-in phrase. Now, I'd love a little context. You could put a little sentence in, like from the this is clear from the very beginning of the story. Okay, it's nice to have a little context of where the quote's going to be, but that's not a big deal here. Okay, author de Maupassant reveals. Loisel, okay, now this, it said something, it probably said something else here. And I would actually call her Madame Loisel because, as sexist as it might sound, they refer to the husband as Loisel, so anyway. But anytime you insert something, you put it in brackets, and this is fine. You capitalize, even if this wasn't a name, you capitalize the first letter of a quote if it reads as a full quote. So Loisel suffered ceaselessly, feeling herself born for all the delicacies and all the luxuries. Okay, great quote. Okay, now comes the key. While this is showing how the quote proves her point. While she had a loving husband, a house, and clothes, Loisel felt that she missed out on the expensive things that she truly deserved. Okay, those are all the delicacies and luxuries. These things range from beautiful dresses, jewels, oriental tapestries, to perfumed bedrooms, and much more. Lady Loisel constantly noticed the things that were wrong with her life and the things that she wanted to change. She was never happy with what she had, as the narrator makes known. Okay, and I would put a period here and start a new sentence because you really like to have the lead-in phrase, the signal phrase, be a new sentence, but that's okay. As the narrator makes known. She suffered from the poverty of her dwelling, from the wretched look of her walls, from the worn chairs, from the ugliness of the curtains. Okay, great quote. Although Loisel was in a home with curtains and chairs, unlike some peasants, she wanted better chairs and more beautiful curtains. Okay, and this writer decided to put a third quote in. The narrator then discloses she had no dresses, no jewels, nothing, and she loved nothing but that. She felt made for that. She would have liked to please, to be envied, to be charming, to be sought after. This shows the effect that new material possessions had on Madame Loisel. She didn't feel beautiful without jewels and dresses even when she had a husband that loved her. Okay, so this is proving how she was. at the beginning of the story. Okay, we're going to take a quick peek at this. In order for Lady Loisel to learn about appreciation and what happiness truly is, Lady Loisel is taught a hard lesson. Mrs. Loisel has numerous opportunities to learn her lesson, but her stubbornness and her pride leads her to be taught the toughest lesson of them all. Okay, so this body paragraph, although the topic sentence here is a little bit misleading, it is proving that she had an opportunity to learn a lesson. Okay. Okay, remember, that's the trickiest part of this paragraph, to make sure that second paragraph is not trying to prove if she learned her lesson, but that she had the opportunity. Okay. And then you can see this one, I'm skimming through, this one's focusing on that if she did or did not learn her lesson. Okay, she understands that by losing one necklace, her life has changed dramatically. And then she blames her misfortune on Forestier rather than acknowledging that it was herself that lost the necklace. This then shows that Lady Loisel did learn the lesson on the true price of things, but she did not learn how to be happy with what she had. Okay, so this is saying that she didn't learn her lesson. She learned a lesson, but she didn't learn the lesson about being happy with what she had. Okay, now, conclusions. We're going to have another module on conclusions, but here are some things that I like to do. I don't like to just restate my thesis, although it's important to kind of sum up what you've written. I really like to revisit my hook in terms of the story, or kind of the whole rest of this essay. You're not supposed to be referring to yourself. There's no I thinks, there's no I believes. You're just trying to prove a point in the story. An effective conclusion can often try and take what's going on in the story and make it more broad. I try and answer the question, why should my reader care? So after, how does this story, what does the story have to do with the world around us? Is it relevant to the world around us? Which I think absolutely the story. I mean, think about, is there anybody that you know, or even any country such as ours that you know that has a problem of culturally perhaps wanting more and having difficulties when we overreach those sort of bounds of what we can afford? Okay, so that might be a good thing to develop here. Okay, last thing to keep in mind, a works cited is typically on its own page. So you'd start a new page. In the center, because this is online class, I would encourage you to do that because it's not like we're wasting paper by doing that. Start a new page, center the words works cited on the page, capital W, capital C, there's no underline, there's no bold. And then you use what's called a hanging indent. If you don't know where to find a hanging indent, it's gonna, you might have a different version of Word than me, but when you format your paragraph, just like your line spacing, you should see a place to do a hanging indent. Okay, and basically what a hanging indent does is it's the opposite of a regular indent. Instead of the first line being indented and nothing else being indented, the first line is not indented, and then everything else in that entry is. And then when you press return for if you had more than one entry, which for this one you probably won't, then it would start over with not indented. Okay, for a works cited, if you get stuff out of the textbook, then you're going to want to follow this sort of format. Okay, I have no idea why this works cited says Edgar Allan Poe Cask of Amontillado when it was about the necklace, but we should fix that up. But here's just an example so you know. Author, and look in the works cited for anthology. That's what we're doing here because it's a story in a greater book that has an editor. Okay. If you get your work from a website, obviously these page numbers are going to be different. You need to look in the module on works cited on how to do that. I'm pretty sure that the author's name just goes in there instead of a page number. Okay, and then The format is going to be different for an MLA style works cited entry for a website, a story on a website. So let's make sure we try and do that right. Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me with a private message, but hopefully walking through that helped you. Yeah, and good luck. I look forward to reading your essays. And remember, this is a learning experience. I'll just provide you with feedback, so hopefully the feedback will help you with your next efforts. Keep up the great work.